Hi, I'm John Messina, host of our show, Hey Coach, and welcome to a new season here. And I got two special guests for us. Scott Proctor, former Martin County High School player, Major League ball player, and Rick Ankiel, who played for Port St. Lucie High School, former Major League Baseball player. And we're going to tell a bunch of stories, and you guys are going to go through your career. First of all, I got to ask you, and Rick, I'm going to you.
Okay.
Yeah, they call this show Hey Coach. Our good friend Tony Malizia, I got the name from him. You have any idea how we got the name of this show?
No.
Okay. Tony and I used to go to the coaches' meetings, and you know how Tony is, okay? He used to go in the back of the meeting, hundreds of coaches in the meeting, wait for the agenda to start, and Tony would sit back and go, "Hey, Coach." 500 people would turn around. You know, that was Tony. But we're going to work a little bit backwards now. What are you doing right now, Scott? I know you had a major league career. What are you doing exactly right now?
Doing a couple of things, spending a lot of time with the family. I got 5 kids, so baseball career takes you away from things. I mean, as Rick knows, you miss a lot of birthdays and different opportunities to spend family time. And then working for Morgan Stanley as a financial advisor, and then of course coaching with you at Martin County High School. So not like there's not enough to do, and not few enough hours in the day.
Do you sleep?
No, I try not to.
Rick, what are you doing right now?
I do pre and post for Fox Midwest before the Cardinal games. I also help my wife with a website that we started back in 2010 called Our Baseball Life. It's a resource website. So for baseball families that are going to a new city or a visiting city, they would know where the will call window is, doctors, pediatricians, anything that they might possibly need while they're in that city, or if they're moving or have been traded to a new city, because
they get traded a lot.
Correct. One thing we did was all the recommendations on there are recommendations that other baseball families have used, saying, look, we've used this person, we trust this person, so we're trying to create a network that that people can trust and feel safe with.
That helps a lot of ball players too. I tell you, when the wives have those resources to go to, we can then focus on the game.
It's a very, very unique idea. And you're writing a book.
And I'm writing a book, correct. Okay. So we're pretty much done now. We've handed it off to the publisher, which now we're just in the final edits, kind of moving things around, make sure that it flows. And I believe the release date is April 19th, somewhere right there in the beginning of April.
Right, and we'll get you on the show promoting the book right before it happens, okay?
Perfect.
Question for you guys. I'll start with Scott. Did you ever, when you were a little kid, did you ever dream of being a major league ball player? Is that what you wanted to be?
Yeah, my gauge was if I could ever strike Rick out, though.
Now, before we go any further, you know where I'm coming to, because I have to work with him all year now.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
Be honest. Did you get a hit off him?
No.
You did?
No, you did in spring training.
Oh, in spring?
Yeah.
But in L.A., you walked me.
Did he walk you?
He didn't want me to take him deep. What happened?
He didn't give him anything to hurt me with.
See, I knew that was coming, because I've got to live with him, Okay. And Rick, when you were growing up, is that what you wanted to be?
Yeah, it was the only thing I wanted to be. I mean, I would put my Little League uniform on and go to bed in it, wake up the next day, so I was already ready. I have my glove and my bat in the bed with me. I think when you're young, though, I'm sure a lot of little boys' dreams are that. And, for me, it didn't become real until high school, until that summer when I was playing for you, and I went from throwing 84 to 94 just like that. And that's when it became real.
And the one story I got to tell, and I don't know if Scott ever heard this, I don't tell this to too many people. I think Tony knows it and a few other people. First of all, I had many ball players, and you were one of the best, but you were definitely the smartest baseball player I've had. I mean, when it comes to baseball sense, we would go over one thing and you pick it up. Last game of your career, we played up in Dunedin. I think if I made a coaching mistake, kind of haunt me a little bit. We beat St. Thomas, who was number 1 in the nation. And the next day it rained, and we didn't have practice. And I went to our good friend, Principal Charlie Kuhn. I said, Charlie, can we go up a few days early? And I think we went up there and were too relaxed. We got beat by a good Dunedin team who won the state title. And last time up, you had a home run. And after the game, I remember you coming up to me and says, Coach, I'm disappointed I didn't get there for the kids. And that's something that's going to be my heart. And I really appreciate that. And that was something that was special. Your journey, Scott, from high school out of high school to the pros. Tell me a little bit about it.
No, it's one of those things. I think Rick can attest to it. When you're going through it, you don't understand why certain things happen. I mean, we both had different journeys. He went out of high school. I went through college.
Okay.
Where
did you go to college?
I went to Florida State.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right, baby. Doing good again this year.
Yeah.
No, but I tell you, it's one of those things where I always had a dream to go out of high school. I had an opportunity to be drafted.
Right.
Chose not to go.
Right.
Ended up, really becoming a different type of player when I was in the college environment. Got to experience some different atmospheres, which helped me develop. I don't think I was mentally or emotionally ready to go out of high school. That's got to be the biggest thing when we evaluate kids is can they handle that?
Right.
But no, it was a long journey. Got to play with some tremendous guys, develop relationships, and then again when we got to play against or with each other in Atlanta, it was kind of weird because here we are, local boys, talk a lot in the offseason, now playing together in the big leagues.
And Rick, you had the opportunity to go to University of Miami, okay, and then you got drafted. I mean, was there ever any hesitation on that?
Yeah, I felt like college was a no-lose situation for me.
Yeah.
Obviously when the Cardinals came in, and I ended up signing with Miami. I actually wanted to go to Florida State. That was my first choice. Also, at the end though, they just felt that I wouldn't be able to turn down what the pros were going to offer me, and they were right.
Right.
No, I would have. We came up with a number of what you think the market value is, and the guys that were drafted from you the year before to who you are that year, and. Certainly being that young and the Cardinals came in and offered me $2.5 million out of high school, there's no way I could say no to that. I mean, you go to college and you get a degree, and let's say something happens injury-wise, and you come out of college, and let's say you got a job at $100,000 a year. Well, in 10, 20 years, I'm still not at that point, so there was no way to say no to that.
Tell me some stories, Scott, about the minor leagues, because it's so different. I think people don't realize. I think high school, we have a little better facilities and a little better bus rides in the minor leagues.
Yeah, there was a lot of peanut butter and jelly. I don't think I could eat peanut butter and jelly for 2 years after I got out of the minor leagues. But
and how much did you get per day for food?
Nothing. Some of the stories I remember. I partnered with a guy, and we bought a Foreman grill. We knew where the microwave was, and we were cooking our own food, trying to have some money to live. I was different. I was married through the minor leagues, but I think the biggest thing was to go from, again, you talked about facilities. Facilities at D1 school, we were treated like big leaguers. And then to go play in, BFE in the middle of Yakima, Washington, you don't know anybody. There's very few of you that speak English. It's a culture shock. And that's why I think, again, I wasn't mentally or emotionally ready to do it out of high school. And I commend guys like him that did it. It was just a journey.
Now, how many years were you in the minors?
Before I got called up, 7. I got,
that's a whole career right there.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where I was, I had a couple arm surgeries, one right out of college. And, so there was some setbacks there. But, ultimately I think it made me who I am. And I don't sit here and second guess. The path I took.
Yeah. And Rick, you a little shorter time in the minors there?
Just a little.
No, he's right. You're coming from home or high school, for me it was, and then all of a sudden, my first taste of it was the instructional league. I remember my first day walking up there, and I'm looking, and everybody was so big, and I'm like, man, this guy's going to throw 104. Like, this guy's going to throw 99. And I'd watch him throw, and it was like 85, and I'm like, what the heck is that? But I just wasn't one of the biggest guys. But my journey was quick. My first year I was low A, high A. My next year I went double A, triple A, big leagues, and I was called up in August.
Right, and I remember
of that next year. So
first game was against the Expos, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep. First batter I faced was Rondell White.
Rondell White. So you remember that? Who was your first game against?
It was in Chicago.
Okay.
Bases loaded, 2 outs. Came in to face Sandy Alomar Jr.
Oof.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was fun. Throwing me right in the heat, Joe.
Yeah, there wasn't no messing around there.
Nope.
When you got to the majors, Scott, who was the one player, if any, that you were in awe of? Just their presence.
Well, I think when I got traded, coming up, I was in the minor leagues with the Dodgers, and then getting traded, you get traded to the New York Yankees, and I still remember I'd been coming home for a family issue, and I was in Atlanta in a layover, and the GM called me and said, hey, I got some good and bad news. I said, well, give me the bad first. they're like, "Oh, well, you're a New York Yankee," and I said, "Well, is that good or bad? I don't know." He says the good news was you were traded, and so anyway, you know, you go in there and you have this perception of the Yankees. Growing up in South Florida, I didn't really like anything New York. But when you go up there, I was kind of in awe of everybody. I mean, here you got an organization that has won multiple world championships. It's a very high expectation. I mean, you know, I was telling some of the kids the other day, when you start looking back at your career and you think of how many guys you played with that are either potential Hall of Famers or already Hall of Famers, I mean, we were pretty dang lucky with some of the group of guys we played with. So, you know, Jeter, Mariano, Bernie, all those guys.
They took you in.
Mariano did a lot. There were some other guys in the bullpen. Mike Stanton, not Giancarlo Stanton, but the true Mike Stanton. Ron Vallone, Farnsworth, and I became very close. Gabe White. Yeah, like I said, I was very, very lucky to have a lot of mentors that molded me.
Rick, when you got there, when you got to the Cardinals, who stood out?
Well, we had Mark McGuire. You know, that first year, 2000, they brought in Jim Edmonds, Darryl Kyle, Pat Hankin, Mike Matheny, Edgar Renteria was that shortstop, Fernando Vina, Reggie. Was Reggie there that year? Some of them blur together, but I remember even walking into the spring training clubhouse, my first big league camp, and all these guys are the guys that I'm watching on TV, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a part of this. You know, I mean, I know they're looking at me like, yeah, whatever, kid, but you know, you have the uniform on, and we're on the same team, and you're competing at the same level that they are. To me, that's one thing I know that I'll never find again. But it's okay, but it's something that I'm so proud of, and I know he is too, to be able to stand here and say I competed against the best the world had to offer, the entire world, and I stood out there and held my own, and you know, that's something you take with you forever.
And I wish you guys were here when we hosted the state baseball tournament. We did it at the Med Stadium for 4 years. That first year, I was just going through my old book there, we had Nick Castellanos, we had Jose Fernandez, we had Addison Russell, we had Eric Hosmer, and I looked at them. They played in back-to-back games. I'm saying these 4 guys were all-stars, basically, and the baseball in Florida, and you guys know, I think we're above everybody else on that, you know? This is kind of the hard part, being traded, because you guys played on multiple teams. What does that do to your family, Scott, you know, from going from city to city? I mean...
Well, and it's funny because he hit on a great point of the website. I mean, there's so many resources now that are there with different websites and these tools that the families have.
But it wasn't there when you guys were there.
It wasn't.
That's why we created it.
I think that's tremendous. Absolutely tremendous.
And I think I still remember sitting there, you speak about Dunedin. It was funny. We were playing the Blue Jays, and the first time that I got called up, my wife had just gotten in, and I'm like, hey, babe, bye, I'm leaving. I had to leave and leave her there. Her mom had to drive across the state to come get her. And, you know, as hard as it is for us to get traded or get called up and go to a new team, I mean, if you get called up, at least you generally know those guys from spring training.
Correct.
When you're traded, it's a whole new group. But I think it's harder on the families. I mean, I commend my wife, and I know, you know, his wife's a great woman too, to be able to do that, and not only that, raise a family.
Did you ever feel you're going to a place, somebody got cut, or somebody got released for you to go in, you're taking that person's spot, a little bit of animosity, not against you, but that they lost their friend. You know, I always see that in football. Somebody gets cut and somebody else comes in. You know, it's a natural reaction like that. Alex Fernandez used to tell me what a pleasure it was to play for Jim Leland, because he let them be themselves. You guys played for 2 Hall of Fame managers. You played for Joe Torre, Scott, and you played for Tony La Russa. Tell me a little bit about Joe Torre, Scott.
Consummate professional. I mean, he was the best at taking the pressure off the media in New York, off the players.
How did he do that?
He always put it on himself. I mean, I think we both, and then the other guy we got to play for was Bobby Cox, and I think he was even the same, where if it was a mistake, it was his fault. If it was something you did right, he let you, you know, be the one that got the glory in it. And I think it takes a very just incredible guy to be able to do that, especially in a New York environment or, you know, a great baseball city like St. Louis, because you just get criticized so much. But everything the way he handled it, I mean, he was a great players manager. You know, he was always had an open door, and I think it's kind of unanimous against them all. But what do you got on La Russa?
The most prepared manager I've ever played for. Yeah, if the other team or manager tried something else, he had 5 things for you waiting.
Wow.
You want to try that and watch this. It was Tony baseball, though. And we had, if you were there, you had to believe into the system, but it worked. And I think one of the reasons that the Cardinals, and they still do it, and it's still this way, is that when you are brought up, you're taught, listen, just do your job. Don't do more than you can do. We just need you to play your position. Don't make the diving play, just make the routine play. And that's why I think they plug in young guys so well, and they just keep rolling, and they keep winning. And that's, to me, the winning teams are the ones that, when somebody gets hurt, they can put somebody there to fill that need, at least for the week or 2 weeks or month, whatever it is, and hold their own.
In spring training, it's the same philosophy for everybody, for both the Cardinals and that.
Yeah, Tony, I thought, was a lot like you. I felt like playing for you got me prepared to play for Tony, and the fact that guys were always doing something. We don't have guys standing around, so we have guys hitting at this station or this station or this station. And Tony ran it the same way in spring training. I was never with Bobby in spring training, so I don't know Bobby Cox. So I don't know how he was, but you were never standing around. There was somewhere to be and something to be doing, and we didn't waste time. And boom, you're done. Get out of here.
And I know when I'm coaching, and I'm really looking forward to going back and going over to Martin County with you guys and helping out over there. Every year you learn something different. I always, when I was athletic director for 30-something years, I always talked to my coaches. I said, you know what? Your best resource is your other coach. Is another coach, because you're always going to learn. And I used to tell my guys, be a thief. You know what a thief means? Steal something, steal a drill from somebody. And like you said, the best prepared people are going to win. And that brings to my next topic, and it's something Scott and I have talked about for a while. We were talking outside a little bit. When I first started being an athletic director at Centennial, we must have had 50, 60 kids that played 3 sports. Last year we had none, okay? Because kids are specializing in. And I know both of you guys with young kids coming up, you know, what advice would you tell parents out here about playing different sports? And we're going to get into the medical part of it too.
If you can figure out if your kid's going to be a big leaguer, become an agent, because you're going to be very rich. You know, if you're that good at determining whether your kid can make it, you know, you can make a lot of money projecting
but
other guys.
everybody says that.
But you know, and that's the thing. I think, you know, ultimately, I love football. I played soccer for 15 years, and I love football. I love the intensity and the aggressiveness of it. I would have never guessed I was going to become a baseball player. I was too small. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I was vertically challenged my entire life. So, you know, you can't sit here and say it. Plus, too, I think repetitive joint abuse, like you're talking about with the medical side, you know, these kids need to be kids. They need to be able to not even just physically, but mentally be able to kind of find that midway and have a life and not end up burning them out.
But how do you get that, Rick? How do you get that across to the parents nowadays? Because they're looking at the big paycheck.
Yeah.
They're looking at the one sport.
I mean, even as myself being a parent now, and my kids are 4 and 5, I look at it, you know, I've heard trainers talk through the end of my career and things that they had to say. And, you know, injuries happen when imbalance happens, right? So if you're playing one sport, let's call it baseball, and I'm always swinging from the left side and throwing from the left side, like now I get stronger in that direction. And if you don't play another sport, right, you're never getting stronger going in the other directions or using different muscles. So as a parent, for me, moving forward, I want them to try and do everything. I don't think I'll let them play football with the new concussion stuff that's came out. I just don't see the point. You know, I know a lot of, especially guys, you know, they need it to get out of the ghetto or whatever you want to call it. You know, my kids aren't going to have that. They're not going to, you know, they're not going to have to do it. I mean, I've done a lot of research or try to pay attention to the concussion stuff recently because it's, you know, it's an issue.
Well, it's a big issue, you know
and especially later in life, right?
Yes.
So for me, I just try to keep it moving and limit it. I mean, I'm not going to, you know, I'm just going to monitor it, and it's going to be what it's going to be.
The scary thing about the concussions, it's always been happening. Now we're understanding what it's about. Back before, when I was growing up, and, you know, way back when there was black and white TVs and things like that, you got your bell rung, get back in there. Now you got to realize, I know we established a very good concussion protocol in high school now that we have to follow. They have to go to a neurologist, they have to sit down, they have to come return to play protocol. But it's still not enough because I don't think people really understand how serious it is.
Right.
And here in Florida with the heat dehydration, you know, that's another factor on that. But you said a great word, and I wish we could have used that the other night when we had our parents meeting. It's imbalance. You're doing the same drills, the same muscles,
Same movements.
same movements over and over again. And you know, we'd love. And I know high schools in Florida, and this is something I would kind of objected. You got football, and then you got everything else. And if you look at the seasons, I mean, it is becoming more and more difficult to play multi-sports because of the overlapping of the sports too, okay? You want the kids to play. You know, I would love everybody playing baseball to swim or to run, you know, or run cross country or something like that. But sometimes I think, you know, we're fighting against the majority there when people say, well, look at the contract Rick got, look at the contract Scott got. It's not going to happen to you guys. It's not going to happen to everybody.
Odds are very slim, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, giving back. And I think you guys have been wonderful, and I know you're role models, and I admire.
That's scary.
Yeah, I know. Remember, I'm working with you, okay? And you'll be there too. Giving back to the community. I know you do a lot of things, giving back to your community here in Martin County in this area, and I know, Rick, you've been helping them on that. Can you go through that, Scott?
Oh, like, you know, I've been very, very blessed. I get a lot of press for things that I'm not totally responsible
Oh, yes,
for. We have a great organization.
Yeah.
You know, Rick's been a part of the organization for, gosh, I can't believe we've been around 10 years, but you know, the ability to give back, to be able to utilize the platform you've been given and the experiences you had in life, either through like what you talk about, and Rick's real good at speaking to the kids and educating them. You know, I think that's the thing. That's the one thing you talk about the older guys. You know, the way they mentored you was, you know, I'm giving back to you because this is what I want you to do when you're the old guy.
Right.
You know, giving back to the community. We've all been blessed. I mean, you know, we both have different life experiences, but we both were blessed with the ability to be able to go play. And now it's our responsibility to go mold these kids and educate them and try to keep them from going down the wrong path. Because I don't know about you, but I mean, I've made a lot of bad choices in my life. And, you know, I'm just grateful for what I've been. So, you know, the people in our organization have been great to give me the accolades. But like I said, it's not just me. You know, we've helped a lot of kids, and we'll hope to do so in the future.
Yeah, Rick, how do you feel about that? You know,
Yeah, the exact same way. And you know, I've been a part of Scott's thing, and I try to do as much charity work as I can. You know, for all kind of for you know, obviously a lot of my friends, but different organizations. As much as I can show up and be there, and just, you know, try to talk about your life experiences. And I think the biggest thing really to explain to kids is like, listen, I'm no different than you are.
Exactly.
All right? I mean, you have a shot now. The percentage of you making it, I don't know what the numbers are, 2% when they break it down. It's been a while since I've read those numbers. But at the same time, I put my pants on the same way you do. And if you're gonna, in any sport, you're gonna have to work. And it's it's an all the time thing. It takes practice and it takes work. It's not gonna happen with you not giving everything you got. That's for sure.
Well, I think one of the points you hit in the parent meeting that was very good, and Coach Langford said, and I think this is, you know, to what he's talking about. Even I try to explain to kids, even if you play, you know, have a great career. I mean, how many years you play?
16 total.
16 years. So I mean, even if you play 16 years, which is a phenomenal career.
It is.
I mean, we're out in the real world now doing stuff totally different. And there's things you can learn, even if you don't go to the highest level. There's things you can learn at the high school level or at the Little League level that can benefit you later in life, whatever it is you do. You know, the same attributes that made us great athletes are the things that are going to make us great in our next career. It's the same thing that's going to make him great in his broadcasting career, or even the developing of this website. I mean, you know, he's taken on risks to be able to do that.
Sure.
It's not easy to go up every day and like, all right, I'm going to keep grinding it out, because I can guarantee it wasn't an easy process to get that thing going. So I think that's the biggest thing with mentoring these kids is explain to them our experiences, like you say. You know, I put my pants on the same way you did, but hey, you're going to have to go up and above. You're going to have to keep your nose clean off, you know, away from the field. You can't be screwing around. You're going to be held to a higher level.
Because there's somebody there
That's coming back.
Especially that too, especially now with the media. You know, you really have to be careful with any decision that they make.
I mean, one of the things we always talked about, we had our coaches meetings to tell the parents. We would have a countywide coaches meeting. Go on social media now. They'll find out who you are. They'll find out everything about you, okay? It's not like the three of us talking after a game, wow, you know, this and that. And the same thing with the parents. Go on social media. That's going to get back to everybody. It's not going to help you. You know, we have a lot of topics now that are very, very controversial, and people doing things, and you know, everybody has a right to do it. Everybody has that right. But that's something that kids have to be aware of. It's going to come back to you, okay? You know, do the right thing. And you know, we all love the game. I don't think there's three people in the world that love baseball more than we do. So I'm going to give you guys a chance to do something right now. You're the commissioner of baseball.
Oh gosh.
What would you change, Scott? What would you change?
I'm gonna defer to Rick and plead the fifth.
What
do
you
you
change?
got?
If you had any rule you can change, or any way the game's being played right now, what would you change?
That's an interesting question.
What do you think about this thing about limiting relievers? I know what you're going to say. How can you do that?
I don't think they're not going to be able to stop that.
No, they're not going to.
They're not. I mean, this is the way the game's evolving, and this is what it is.
Right.
Offense is a premium. Everybody throws 100, and obviously, if I can't see a guy twice as a hitter, I'm
correct.
You know, I don't have the benefit.
Right.
Well, they're starting to figure that out. The shifts. I don't know if we can get rid of that either, but some of it, I don't know if you can limit it. But I mean, when they put the whole field in right, and
then bunt.
but I understand it. But you know, they understand too. If they get Big Papi to bunt, he can't steal second. He's a liability at first. So if he doesn't hit a double or a homer, then you know, really, you're just clogging up the bases.
You might not score on first.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll put you on first. You know, you can't do any damage.
You know, I always read the old stories about the amount of innings and pitches that the pitchers threw. There's a great story, I think it was in the early 60s. Warren Spahn and Juan Marichal pitched a complete 15-inning game with over 500 pitches combined. And they made their next start. Now, what would happen to a manager if he was out the door?
No, media, everybody is scrutinized. You know, it's interesting, and you know, even talking about that, since you brought it up, that they did do that back then, but it seems like people didn't train as hard, right? Everybody went home and worked. They had a different job when they went home, right? And it's almost the same thing we talk about now. Now it's so specialized training. We're bigger, faster, stronger than we've ever been, but there's more injuries than there's ever been.
Okay.
And it's like, where is the balance? You know, like where is the balance?
I love that word, imbalance, and that's something. Remember, we got to use that. Any changes you would think of?
You know, I tell you, I think the Big Papi hit, when they were talking to him at the start of the season, they were saying, you know, what led to his longevity in the game. And I think he said it was his ability to adapt. And although there are things, I'm not a big fan of the instant replay. I like the human element in the game. You know, I think there's always something that we can say we would change. But, you know, the game is not what it was. I mean, I was talking to Brooke Fordyce the other day about bunting. And he says, you know, that no one bunts anymore. I mean, even D. Gordon is more of he's a slap power guy. I mean, and although instead of trying to change something, I think we just need to have the ability to adapt.
Right. And we're getting down to the end of our show. How quick this goes by. I mean, we could be here for weeks talking about baseball, but I really like to thank you guys. Rick, you know what I think of you.
Yeah,
I mean,
thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
We had some good times.
Absolutely.
We had some good times, and like I said, I'm so proud that I have coached you. Big guy here, we're going to have some fun this year.
We're going to have fun. We're going to have fun even with him. We'll get him out there.
We're going to have fun in here, and we wish you guys the best. But I want to thank you guys for coming, and you've been great role models for people in this area. And I want to thank everybody out there for another edition of Hey Coach.
And I want to reiterate, Scott told me that it was a radio show. So
that's right.
Hence my outfit, so I came dressed as a nice job, man. Good work.
Okay.
So stuff doesn't stop.
Okay. So things haven't changed. Thank you very much, everybody.